WBUR Podcasts, Boston.
I'm Daryl C. Murphy, and you're listening to The Common. So, 2023 is here, a new year, new governor, new other elected officials, and we also have some new laws. And so here to help us understand those laws and explain what they mean for us, we have WBUR senior State House reporter Steve Brown. Steve, how you feeling?
I'm doing all right, Daryl. And yourself?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
So I want to get into these laws and start with the new minimum wage. I understand that that's been a long time coming, but we finally made it to a $15 an hour minimum wage, right? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, that law came out of the 2018 Grand Bargain.
Mm-hmm.
There was, back at the time, I don't know if you recall, there was a question of whether or not they were going to have a sales tax holiday, whether or not minimum wage would go up. A lot of people wanted that minimum wage to go up to $15 right away, and the retailers said, hey, wait, that's too much too fast.
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with what they called the Grand Bargain in 2018. The retailers backed off a referendum that would have rolled the sales tax back permanently to 5% and said, okay, we won't do that, but let's do a gradual increase of what the minimum wage is here in Massachusetts. Back in 2018, it was $11 an hour. And the other part of that bargain that the retailers wanted included was that retail employees who would work on Sundays would get time and a half.
Okay.
Way back when there used to be blue laws that prohibited you from going shopping on Sundays. Eventually, those blue laws went away. Now, retailers would say, how are we going to get employees to come in instead of going to church or doing whatever else they would be doing on a Sunday? If you're made to work on a Sunday, you got to be paid time and a half. So that was the rule for a long time. So as part of the Grand Bargain of 2018, they said for Sundays and holidays, we're going to phase that premium time out, that time and a half, and instead we'll gradually up the minimum wage to $15. So that's what it is now, $15 an hour as of January 1st. And anybody that worked this past Sunday, they just get the $15 as the minimum wage or whatever their salary is. Obviously, it's a minimum of $15. They might be getting more. But they're not getting that premium, that extra time and a half, which a lot of workers really counted on. And it was an incentive for them to go in and work on a Sunday.
Yeah, that's my next question about this is, what are some of the other criticisms around this exchange?
In 2018, $15 sounded like a lot of money. Now that it's 2023, $15 an hour, it might be better than what they were making before, but it's still, it's only like $32,000 a year if you're working 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. So I would expect now you're going to hear people say, hey, we probably need to raise it again. Let's start, setting targets to raise the minimum wage as we go over maybe there'll be another Grand Bargain that will come out.
I want to stick with money here and talk about the so-called millionaire's tax. Remind us what that is and who it impacts.
Okay, the millionaire's tax, otherwise known as the Fair Share Amendment that passed, it was only a narrow margin. Only 52% approved that back in November, 48 opposed. So it's very controversial. Basically, what it does is it adds an additional 4% surtax on income over $1 million. Now, are you at that point yet?
Not yet. That's a lot of podcasts.
Not yet, but keep listening because, it may affect you eventually. But every dollar you make below $1 million is taxed at roughly 5 and something percent. I don't know the exact percentage right off the top of my head. But that's what we all pay. It's a flat tax. If you're making more than $1 million, every dollar above that is taxed with that surcharge. So it's like 9%.
Okay.
It's kind of like the federal tax that we pay. Federal tax is a graduated tax. The more you earn, the higher your tax rate is. Here in Massachusetts, it's a flat tax except for now any money that you earn over $1 million.
Understood. And where does this money go to?
It is supposed to be earmarked for education and transportation. The Senate president, in her remarks last week, promised that that's where that money will go. There's kind of a shell game that could go on where they can not use that exact money, but use money that isn't spent on education and transportation and spend that elsewhere. And that's one of the concerns that I think some opponents of the millionaire's tax feel.
We are going to take a quick break, but we will be right back with more from Steve.
Did you kill Marlene Johnson?
I think you're one of the first people to have actually asked.
From WBUR and ZSP Media, this is Beyond All Repair, a new podcast about an unsolved murder that will leave you questioning everything.
Somebody should be in jail for murdering my sister.
A woman who's never been believed.
As long as they think I have done this, then they're not looking for who actually did this.
And that's what makes it a cold case.
No, it's a botched case.
And a search for the truth, once and for all.
Wow, it just gets more interesting.
Beyond All Repair. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Be careful. You're digging in a place that's been very peaceful for a while.
Do it anyway. Dig.
And we're back. Speaking of transportation, let's talk about this new law that allows undocumented residents to get a driver's license. That goes into effect this year as well, right?
Yeah, that is on the books. It was passed by the legislature and not signed by the governor last year, not signed by Charlie Baker. He was opposed to it. There were some things in it that he didn't like, so he vetoed it.
Something about voting, right?
Yes, that was one of the concerns that opponents said, hey, if you get a driver's license, a lot of times the registry automatically register you to vote. There was concerns about that. Legislature overrode that veto. The bill became law. The state GOP last year, if you recall, when we went to vote in November, you were asked, should that law stay on the books? They were able to gather enough signatures. In Massachusetts, there's a mechanism if enough people don't like a law that's just passed, they can then gather signatures and get a repeal question on the next ballot. They were able to do it. They were able to get that question on the ballot in November, but the vote to keep the law on the books was almost 54% said, yes, keep this on the books. So what that means is that as of July 1st, undocumented people in Massachusetts can go to the registry, can take a driver's test, and can get a driver's license after they pass that test.
Okay. And last but not least, sports betting. This becomes available to consumers this year.
That is correct.
Now, here on The Common, we already talked about it before, but can you just quickly remind us what that's all about and where things are with that?
Sure. Right now, the Massachusetts Gaming Commission is putting the finishing touches on how this is going to work. They have granted the okay to the 3 licensed casinos in Massachusetts the ability to accept sports bets. I believe it's on the 30th of January. They're going to have a soft launch where invited guests can wager with the understanding that, hey, we're not sure if we get all the bugs out of this yet. And these are systems that are in place in many other states, so I doubt that there'll be any snafus that first day. By the 31st of January, you'll be able to place a Super Bowl bet. Now, you could have done this in Rhode Island 4 or 5 years ago. I remember doing a story on that back when the Patriots were in the Super Bowl. You won't be able to bet on the Patriots this year on the Super Bowl.
Wah, wah.
Sorry to say that, but hey, there's always next year.
Yep.
Now, the big thing in sports betting is mobile betting. That's being able to just do this on your phone. And so you won't be able to do it on your phone here in Massachusetts for the Super Bowl. But by the time March Madness comes around, it might be a different story. I might be able to put my money on the Emerson College Lions. Well, no, they don't. They don't participate in the Final Four. But if they were, that's where my money would go. So that's going to take place as of March. They're just finalizing the licenses right now. And so after March, you could wager on sports either in a casino or on your phone.
Okay, Steve, we have a new governor. I'm very curious to know, what will you be looking out for in the first few months of Governor Maura Healey's administration?
Well, I'll be looking to see how she gets along with the legislature. I know that Charlie Baker was somewhat frustrated that he couldn't get a lot of things out of the legislature. I mean, he played nice with them and they played nice with him. But I know he was somewhat frustrated. So, she outlined a number of goals, increasing housing, fixing the T, things like that in her inaugural address. So now I guess we have to look at, is she able to convince the legislature to go along with that? It's very easy. Everybody agrees that, we should have affordable housing. Everybody agrees that the MBTA should be fixed. Where they differentiate is, how do we do it? And, you get the House will come through with one proposal, the Senate will come through with another, and then the governor has a third, and they have to work all that stuff out. And if they can't work it out, then things don't get done.
Understood. Well, Steve, this was educational and an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for talking with us.
It's always great to hang with you there, Daryl.
Oh, yeah, same here. That's WBUR Senior State House reporter Steve Brown. And that's our show for today. Thank you so much for listening to The Common. Please go ahead and hit us up on Instagram or Twitter at WBUR The Common, or send us an email at thecommon@wbur.org. I'm Daryl C. Murphy. I'll talk to you tomorrow.